Hello there, folks! Hatma here. I really hope you guys are having a lovely day. Today we're playing Ultimate General American Revolution, and I'm gonna teach you how to actually play the British, how to survive early game, how to develop, and finally how to defeat the colonial army. Let's go. We start off in character creation. Our main character here is William Howe. He's a military governor, soon to be military governor of the colonies. And we have a couple of options. +6 intelligence, 4 endurance or perception, intelligence and charisma. But what does this mean? If we look at the character traits, right? We have intelligence. It says general LOS radius, so general radius. Boosts unit range damage. Perception will give you range attack efficiency. Endurance will increase overall efficiency of the unit under his control and will boost conditioning, which is very important, especially if you're running away from the enemy or more often chasing after the enemy. Then the charisma will beef up your melee attack damage, and willpower refers to morale, of course. Well, the first one will give you +6 intelligence, and you have kind of lower intelligence, so you can opt for it. But the other two would actually give you overall 8 stats. Well, this one will only give you 6. So I would usually go for teamwork because you get +4 endurance and +4 perception. As I said, endurance is very important if you have cavalry that depends on charging. If you have your line infantry that's also easy to get tired over the course of the battle. If you need to chase down the enemy, endurance is very important. And perception will give you extra attack range efficiency, which you can benefit from quite a bit. This one, social, is not so bad as well. You can even go for intelligence. It's kind of up to you. In the end, these personal stats do not matter as much because your military governor will be maxed out in like a year or so. Now we have an option between command aura. We have +10% spotting or own speed. Well, command aura makes a lot of sense because the radius of the general is bigger, so he can affect more units at the same time. I would go for it. I think this one is probably the best. Spotting can be good if you're planning to run with a lot of artillery. You can see the enemies coming in. You can position your troops a bit better. So scout is not that bad. And tireless will give you +10%, but only his own speed. This will not affect the army itself. It will just affect the general in question. And I don't think this is particularly good. Maybe for some generals this could work because you're always going to have particular generals. There will be your firefighters. When there is like a small revolt or rebellion, you're going to use them to subdue it. And then maybe speed is of the essence, and I could justify it for your military governor. I don't think it's a good idea, so I would just go with commander. Choosing character trait debuff is not that easy. We again have 3 options. The first one is reckless, -7 perception. We said it affects your range attack. -7 willpower affects your morale, or immoral, -5 charisma and willpower. That means melee stats and willpower or morale. Well, if you select this one, is the most balanced one, but it's -10 versus -7 and -7, right? If we go for -7 perception, this will affect our range attack, and I think that if you play the British, you have a major advantage when it comes to skirmish or range combat because A, you have more experienced regiments. B, you have line infantry. They predominantly have militia at the beginning. C, they don't have cavalry, so they're not likely to charge you in all that time. You have better cannons, big deal, and you have better muskets and rifles. So I think that your advantage is when it comes to range and outmaneuvering your opponent. Their advantage would be numbers and probably try to force melee. You're never gonna struggle with willpower. You're never gonna struggle with morale if you play well. So I think I'm gonna give up morale in this case. Once more, we have 3 options. -20 tensions with the natives. We have +15% reporting and +10% looting. Personally believe that -20 tension with the natives is the best in a long run. You kind of have lower tensions with the natives, that means that it would take maybe a couple of years until you get into serious trouble with the natives. That also means that you're not gonna fight them. You're not gonna have to guard those forts, and you can focus diplomatically on France and Spain. Additionally, you're quite restricted to what kind of units you can recruit in the colonies and how many of them can be recruited. I'm thinking of militia, of course. So the native mercenaries are welcome in addition to your roster, and they're not particularly expensive for what they do. If you have lower tensions, you can choose a variety of units. This is even better, right? Then we have an option to increase reporting. For you guys that are not familiar, reporting is a mechanic that exists in this title. Mechanics function that outside of your general view, so generals have specific radius, all the units are outside. They are basically in fog of war. You can see where they are, but you cannot see where they are all the time. They kind of teleport. It takes usually 1 day to send a report of where they were a day ago, so you can never know exactly where they are unless you have a general present. Reporting will help you to decrease this lag of information, right? And you can change reporting over the course of your campaign with some technologies. You can also do this with intelligence costs. So if you bring up intelligence costs, you're going to get basically real-time reporting, and this is why I do not value it as much. And looting is not as good as it used to be. In the past, you could get so much money from just looting. People used to send like a cavalry regiment and a general, and they would just loot again and again different provinces, different regions, and they would get a lot of raw materials and money. And it used to be very OP. Now looting is much more restricted, is down to earth, and is heavily nerfed. So if I had to make a choice, I would go for tensions with the natives. Plus 15% ammunition, plus 15% provisions, and plus 10% foraging. I would go for ammunition, but you can do whatever you like. I think that provisions is also pretty good. Foraging is not necessary if you play the game right. If you forage, they're gonna hate you more. The loyalty will be lower, so I'm usually against it. Just try to focus on ammunition and provisions. Probably the most important choice you can make would be between loyalty plus 10%, minus 10% mining costs, and a plus 1 infantry unit. I would say by far the best option would be loyalty, because loyalty is a major issue during the British campaign. There will be a lot of revolutions and uprisings, and if you have low loyalty, you will have to garrison all the settlements you control. Then that means that the circle of settlements you control will be smaller and smaller, and you're gonna have lesser income. Enemies will have more of a spawning ground, so loyalty is a huge deal. If you can go above specific level or threshold of loyalty, you will not have to garrison specific settlements, and this will allow you to actually go and fight the Americans and capture more territory, get more resources for yourself, and deny the enemy more resources. So loyalty is by far the best one. Then we have minus 10% mining costs. Mining costs can be very high, especially later in the game, when we can go to like 20,000 or 25,000. Depending on how many mines you have, but I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like 2,000 per week is not that much in the end. And plus 1 infantry unit is really good at the beginning, but as I said, I would prefer to have my loyalty increased everywhere in the colonies, in all the settlements, by 10% than just having 1 infantry unit early on. As we finished our character creation, this should be our deck. Basically teamwork, commander, and cooperative, minus 20 tension with natives, ammunition, and loyalty. When it comes to difficulty, it depends on how ready you are. If you haven't played this game at all, I would usually recommend starting off with American Campaign. I think American Campaign is much beginner friendly. Here you will have to do a lot of balancing, a lot of checking. It's quite difficult. We're gonna be playing on the normal difficulty, and you can see a bunch of buffs or debuffs depending on the difficulty you're playing on. And you can choose aggressive AI. That will mean that AI will be more likely to follow the historic route and will put up a fight more than usual. So let's begin. It's February 16th of 75. It's the start of our campaign. And if you guys remember, I mentioned that US campaign is quite easier than British campaign, and they play differently. I'm going to try to explain why in the beginning. So you start US campaign with a very small map. Basically, New England, only a couple of settlements are available on the map, and map will gradually expand every 6 months or so. It's more of a expansion campaign. You don't have to worry about loyalty. You don't have to balance between the colonies and the home country. This button, for example, doesn't exist. There are no restrictions to what units you can recruit. The only restriction comes from technologies, but eventually you will be able to recruit pretty much everything. You can finish the entire campaign without ever having or needing a navy. Well, the British campaign is quite a bit different. It's more of a reminiscent to Western Roman Empire in Attila Total War. I'm not sure if you guys ever played that title. But you start with the whole map open, and everything is yours. If you look at the map, everything from Florida to Quebec is in your hands. Loyalty is very high. You're making a lot of money, and early on you're going to even be making more. But there will be a series of events that will cause loyalty to go down across the colonies, and eventually cause a rebellion. Some colonies and regions will be hit more than others, and this will not happen simultaneously, so maybe this is something to be discussed a bit later. You have to make a calculated decision on what and where to defend, and what to just give up. Because physically you will not be in shape to prevent a rebellion from occurring. Your army is just way too small for that. But what are the fundamental differences? During the American campaign, as we said, Navy is just a toy. Something to play with. You can have it and you don't have to. During the British campaign, Royal Navy is the beating heart. Without it, everything will crumble. Because first, there is no line infantry and cavalry available in the colonies. You can physically not recruit those units. So you have to go to Britain to get them. Then you say, okay, I'm going to rely on militia. Too bad, because militia numbers are super small. The beginning of the campaign, you can expand militia by researching some technologies. There will be some events a bit later that will allow you to recruit more militia units, but you cannot rely on them to carry the day. Replacements to line infantry and cavalry can only come from Britain. So again, huge problem. There are no raw materials in Britain whatsoever, but there is a lot of production capacity. Eventually, you get more and more cities in Britain available. That will mean more and more production capacity, but literally no raw materials can be produced in Britain. Prices of raw materials and goods are significantly higher in Europe, while luxury prices or prices of luxury goods would be much higher in the colonies. That means that if you want to recruit, for example, line infantry regiment, you're gonna need muskets, you're gonna need cannons, you're gonna need rifles for your skirmishers, you're gonna need horses if you want cavalry, and in order to manufacture those things, you need raw materials, right? That you're gonna need to get from colonies. So merchant navy is a big deal. It will cost you a lot of money to maintain. And then if you want to ship those guys to the colonies, you need, army transports and other merchant ships. So, American Navy, it's not very strong, but will cause a lot of problems for you. There are a lot of privateers early on, so you really want to control the Atlantic as much as possible. And we're going to talk about some details when the time... It's time to call... It's time to talk about resources and economy of this game. If we look at the southern colonies, for example, like Georgia, South, and North Carolina, the first thing we can see is there is a lot of sugar and a lot of cotton as natural resources. And further we go to the north, we can see some tobacco and Northern Carolina and Virginia in particular. These three resources are relatively easy to obtain. They're cheap to manufacture, but they're also cheap to sell. If you want to sell more sophisticated products like rum and cigars, you have to construct specific types of buildings. These raw materials come from regions themselves, and they can be their output can be increased through some regional level construction. Well, if we want to convert rum into sugar into rum and tobacco into cigars, we need settlement level buildings. They come in 3 tiers and they can be researched. They give you from 1, 2.5, and 3 and 5, pardon me, depending on the tier. But you have to pay for the conversion. Another thing is that these industrial buildings do not have to be in the same place as, for example, cotton or tobacco, their own raw materials. You can build them in the north, in the south, it doesn't matter. As long as you have raw materials, you're good, and you're going to pay some manufacturing cost, but then you will be able to sell them for a higher price. The further you go to the west, to Appalachia, you can see a lot of gold, you can see some copper, you can see, I don't know, iron. By the way, gold is in Indian territory, and you cannot really obtain it, so it kind of doesn't count. Up north we go from Virginia and Maryland. This is where we have no tobacco anymore. In Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, we have, and even Massachusetts, we have a lot of wheat. That means that we can rapidly increase our provisions production. They're very, very important. And up north we go, or up to the west we go, we have a lot of wood that's necessary for pretty much any kind of manufacturing when it comes to muskets, rifles, when it comes to ships in particular. It's a very valuable resource. Then we have coal, we have iron, we have copper, and other types of materials. But why is this region so important around New England? Because all the biggest settlements come from there. We have Boston, we have New Haven, Hartford, we have New York, we have Philly, and a bunch of other buildings around here. A bunch of other settlements. Big settlements are important because they are your recruiting hubs. During the British campaign, it's not that important because your line, infantry, and cavalry come from your home country. Well, you can only recruit militia here. But during the American campaign, I think they're even more important. What is good is that usually have high construction numbers in their settlements. That means that you can easily recruit, you can easily construct whatever you need in this region. Not only buildings that are connected to finances and money, but also things like construction materials or specialists are very, very much necessary. And you can also build newspapers to control the loyalty, so you don't have to garrison these settlements. You can focus on other things. They are very important, as well as Navy. For example, New Haven has construction points around 5. That means if you have ships to be repaired and you send them there, they can easily be repaired instead of just going to, I don't know, somewhere around New Jersey or Virginia where the construction number is 1.7 or 1.2. The speed is of the essence sometimes. And even more to the north, we can see in like upstate New York, fur. Fur is by far the most productive raw material in the game. You can sell it for so much money, and this will keep your economy afloat throughout your campaign. It functions differently from other resources like tobacco or sugar, whatever, in a sense that it's not region-based. You need a specific region, of course, but it comes from like city-level construction buildings. Again, there are 3 tiers: 1, 2.5, and 5 furs per building. As you progress through technological trees, you will be able to unlock them, and they're gonna bring you a lot of money. But we're gonna talk about technology a bit later, and probably the most important natural resource, especially in the early game, would be gold. Again, gold is quite a bit different from fur, from anything else, in a sense that it cannot be used for manufacturing like copper or iron. It cannot be bought or sold like other natural resources. Just a money printing machine. Whenever you have a region with gold, that means you're going to get a lot of money. How much money are we talking about? For example, Castine has 2 settlements. This region will give you about 3,000 pounds at the beginning of your campaign per week. While New Haven, that I mentioned before, is probably the biggest city in the game, will give you about 300, 350. So like tenfold. It's a humongous difference. And you don't really have to invest any money into gold. You can increase gold output by building mines. These are regional level buildings, but that's it. Straight from the get-go, you get a lot of money. There are only a couple of regions you can control that have gold that are not in Indian territory, and this is basically Castine over here. We have Quebec. We have Russell, I believe. We have two settlements to the northwest. Basically, these are two forts. And to the central colonies, I think in Virginia, we probably missed it before, there is a gold resource. It's Inglis Ferry or something like that. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But as I said, this is by far the most important one because it will give you thousands of pounds just by just controlling it. And these are small settlements, so you can easily control them without having to keep a couple of regiments in there. Now you know about the basics of geography, basics of raw materials and economy, and we can talk strategy. Now that we're familiar with the economic situation and resources, it's time to discuss strategy. We have a couple of options. We said that basically we cannot stop the rebellion. We do not have big enough army. So what are the options? The first one is that we're gonna throw up in the south, from Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The idea out of it would be that we can get a lot of raw materials. We can get cotton, we can get tobacco, we can get sugar, and we can eventually turn it into real money. The downside is that we don't have that many production materials like iron or copper, and cities are not that big in the south. Then we have option to go to the center like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. This will allow us to expand on both sides, like in the south or north, depending on our wishes. The problem is that we're not gonna have that many resources. Big cities are not present, and you're exposed on both sides. Basically, you have to protect both flanks. If we go to the upstate New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Quebec, this option is pretty interesting because all the major cities are over here. We're gonna have gold in the north. We're gonna have fur as well. A very attractive offer. And the final option would be to make an attempt to close the colonists or seize them off Atlantic Ocean. That means that you're gonna control all the territories next to the Atlantic, so they cannot have a navy, and then you can you don't have to pay the Royal Navy at all. You can focus only on your land army, and you can send all the goods to Great Britain. You can sell them for profits and make a lot of money that way. The problem is that the map is so long, the colonies are so big that there is no way you can have all of these regions settled and garrisoned properly. And that means that the colonists will have easy time to the center, to the west, and they will choose to pick you apart. You will just not be able to defend all the places, and that will be a huge problem. So I think this one is impossible to pull off. I haven't tried, but I think it's very difficult. You guys let me know if you did. To the center, I think it's also a really bad idea because you have to protect both flanks, and just not gonna go easy. A lack of resources, a lack of easy way to make money. South is a solid option just because of the resources. One big minus is that there are no major settlements in the south. There's Savannah, there are some other places that have solid population, but you're not gonna get a lot of money. By far, in my opinion, the best option would be to turtle up in the north. And we're gonna change the map real quick and talk a bit more about it. So we said all the major cities are here. We have a lot of wood. We have iron for production. We have copper. We have fur production in the north. We have a bunch of gold. And the good thing about British campaign, you do not have to worry about naval invasions. Maybe until you get into war with France or Spain, but this could take years, and initially you do not have to worry about being surprised from the north or from the seaside. That means that these forts are very valuable. They require a very small garrison if we look up here. So holding them would be so good. You're gonna get a lot of money. You're gonna get huge population centers. You're gonna get all the necessary buildings, and you're gonna get fur. Uh, what I would suggest is basically following the line of New York, the region of New York. All over there, following the forts, they're easy to defend, and AI will be less likely to attack. Then maybe Albany for Saratoga, for Herkimer, Stanwix, Port Ontario. This will be something that you can hold. Over here, you can send like a small militia company to occupy these forts just to make sure they do not rebel. And you're gonna have a really good starting position. You're gonna be able to make a lot of money. It's not too big, so you should be able to hold onto all the territories without having internal rebellions, and then you can actually focus on a single side down south and just keep pushing against the colonists. Once again, we're at the beginning of our campaign, and I'm going to give you a set of instructions of what to do early on. We have our William Howe. We're going to push him and his squadron to go to Boston. You can go to Newport, you can go to New Haven, whatever you like, but I will prefer Boston because a bit later, in like 2 months, there will be a rebellion. There will be like a scripted event in Leicester. Regardless of what you do, yeah, they're going to, rebel. And they're going to have probably around 3 regiments, if I remember correctly, of militia, and it's better to have your standing army ready to destroy the rebellion. And if you don't do that, they're gonna wreak havoc on your insides, right? We see this as our territory, as a protected territory, so this will be a really bad thing. And wherever you go, try not to move them until the winter is over, because even when you move through like a forest or mountains, your troops will take attrition during the summertime, but during the winter time, they're gonna take like 7 times as much attrition. And as we said, you cannot recover your troops. You cannot get reinforcements unless it's from Britain. So be very careful not to move them during the winter season, especially early on in the campaign. But something that you can do, and we said we're going to turtle up in the north, we're going to be looking for scattered garrisons. The first one is in St. Augustine in the south. We're going to get those guys out, then we're going to go into slow-mo. We're going to find a place. This is only a company worth of men, so we're gonna go to Fort Herkimer. You need to make sure that you double click. That means they're gonna go straight for the fort, and also you have the line. That means that they are actually moving. Sometimes you give them an order, but they're not moving. Important thing to remember. If we look at loyalty, right? It says to prevent a rebellion, you either need more than 36% loyalty, or you need 96 soldiers. The smaller the workforce in a settlement, the less soldiers are necessary to guard it. So we're going to use our small regiments to basically cover the forts over here, so we don't have to worry about them. Let's look for more. Fort St. Marcus, again in the south, Florida. Get out. And we're going to send you somewhere. Maybe Fort Stanwix would be a good option. Let me check more. For Cackley, it's in the center. Virginia. Let's get out. Port Ontario, let me see. What does it say? 82 soldiers. We were good. We're solid. For Niagara, you guys can stay where you are. Remember that we have 2 distant forts. I cannot even pronounce them. Cannot find them. Where the hell is... Yeah, over here and over here. And we're gonna need some men. They are very small in size. So the garrison is like 58 soldiers over here. And the requirement for this one is, yeah, the same, 58. So we're just gonna send maybe militia ideally, but we do not have enough militia, so probably we can send some of those guys a bit later. We gotta keep moving them north. Yeah, maybe you can go. It's a good fort to obtain, or to keep, but we have something that's more important. Boston is okay. This one can also be used. You guys gonna go over there. We gotta make sure that we do not have to worry about gold. Ticonderoga. We could move them down south. Maybe Fort Montgomery would be a good option for these guys as well. But now it's winter season, so they can stay. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to my own advice. Make them stay inside. Yeah, they already lost a single man just for like a few seconds. That sucks. As I said, small regiments with like only one company, they will take like 0 casualties. Even though they're marching all the way from the south to the north, it would take them a long time, but they're not gonna suffer many casualties. Well, the bigger regiments, this is how the mechanic works, will suffer way more. So, let me check. Ticonderoga. Oh, we're good. We're good with the army. These guys are coming in, and I can pause the game once again. Now it's time to talk about the Navy. We cannot see the expenditure because the first week is not there, but we have plenty of ships. We have those guys. We have ships in ports. Like over here. We're not gonna need the Royal Navy for about 2 months. Now it's February 16th. The rebellion starts like April 17th. So basically 2 months. And enemy navy will not appear, or privateers will not appear for like 2 weeks after that. So you have effectively 2 weeks to save on maintenance and on salaries for the Navy. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get rid of ships. We're gonna go everywhere and just check if there are any ships in ports or around the ports. You can do it over here, but I prefer to do it in person. I think it's kind of easier. You double click, you go over here, you decommission all the ships. They are still there. You can commission them a bit later. By the way, they can be also used to maintain these settlements. Like, they are also being counted as garrison. But they usually have a very small number of men inside. So we're gonna get out. Let me check. Elsewhere. We're gonna decommission those guys. We have a huge fleet. And even though they do not cost as much money as they used to back in the day, they're still very expensive. For 2 months, we can save up a lot of money, and when these guys get there, we're just gonna. Can I? Oh, I cannot. Let's speed it up. And now we have no ships. We're gonna save a ton of money. It's Saturday. Let's get to Sunday. And then we're gonna... Oh. We can only build up this one first because we have no control over construction. Let's wait for the Monday to build up this town hall into the capital. This is where the things get worse and worse over time, right? Why do we do this? Because these are our 2 biggest settlements and we are intending to keep them. This will open up more money, but will open up or unlock basically all the slots a bit later. We don't have to wait for this to be done. And yeah, for some time we will not be able to construct anything. But we're done at the beginning and we're going to talk a little bit more as things open up. Okay, appointment by governor. That means that we are finally unlocking headquarters. We're getting 50,000 and things are getting worse in the colonies. So let's pause the game real quick. We're going to go to headquarters and then we're going to select something like a Council of War. We're going to spend our reputation to speed it up over here. Yes. From 70, we got to 60. One big deal. Cut down the salary. We're going to go to 0.8 instead of 1. That means unit morale is -10. If you lower it even more to 15 or 20, your troops will start deserting. That means that not only you're going to have less men, and you will not be able to replenish your units because they can only come from Britain, but also your reputation will tank. You're gonna lose more reputation, and then you're gonna lose your campaign. So we cannot allow that to happen. But -10 unit morale is completely okay, acceptable. Then we can go over here and select a couple of generals. Whomever you select, it's up to you. Their stats are not that different. So do whatever you guys like. And now we are unlocking Britain. We can go over there. And if you guys are not familiar, we're gonna talk about each individual section. Right now, you begin with only one settlement, it's Bristol, but a bit later, you're going to get London, you're going to get Portsmouth, Liverpool, and other places. Here we can see factories, we can lease foreign infrastructure. In the case of production necessities, you can pay for them and have extra production. I do not recommend it. I think it's a waste of money, and if you play smart, you can just avoid this from ever happening. When you get more settlements, you're also going to get more production points. But we said that all raw materials can only come from the colonies. In Britain, you can get nothing. All the raw materials need to be shipped from the colonies. Then we're going to go to production management over here. Right now, we cannot do that in the US. Here, it doesn't exist. It's not available. It will be available in a short time. But let's go to production. And something that we really, really need would be Brown Bess 69s. We're going to need muskets. We're going to go to continuous or unlimited production. That means for as long as we have raw materials necessary, that will be iron and wood and money, of course, we're going to be producing Brown Besses. Right now, we have 6 production points. As we said, you can increase them, but I do not recommend because I think this is something that's quite expensive and you pay this daily. Every day you pay this price. So I don't think it's worth it. This one is kind of glitching. I'm pretty sure that you still have some materials over here. But I'm on unstable branch, and, you know, stuff like this are quite common. Then we have all the things. If this is an American flag, that means basically that we're shipping from colonies to Great Britain. This means 2 ships are on the way with 20 copper. We're shipping copper. We're shipping, saltpeter, wood, and other materials. Now, before we address this issue, we can only do that we'll click over here. Okay, I'm gonna show you. We can go to supply. We're actually shipping ammunition from Britain to colonies. They're not gonna stop it. We don't have to do that. We're gonna capture a lot of ammunition from the rebels, so we don't have to produce it, or we don't have to ship it from Britain over there. Provisions, everything is okay. Nothing else is being shipped. That's it. But we have to click on Bristol. When we click on Bristol, we can see shipyard over here. That means we have 4 ships. And if you check, we're still paying over like 6,500 pounds per week for these 4 ships. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of them. As we said, they do not disappear. They can be rearmed and put to service. But right now, we are very far away from rebellion. We're not going to be paying this every week. We're only going to leave 1 ship. That's the weakest one. I cannot tell how much they cost. You can tell for like an infantry regiment or cavalry regiment. If you click on them, you can check how much is the salary per week. But with ships, you cannot tell that. And I do not know why they did it. We can assign them specific bonuses. That's completely up to you. I had a tutorial actually about this, so if you want to, you can check it out. It's called Military Tutorial. That's it. For the time being, we're just going to go back to the States, and let's keep moving. We're going to wait for the next day. Okay, we have Council of War. If we click over here, that means that our research is done, and we could immediately click over here. But the problem is, if I do that, I will not be able to fulfill one of the missions. So just wait with this one for a day. I'm gonna go for Colony Organization 1, Council of War. We're gonna find somebody with good stats, somebody who would be suitable for this type of job. You can spend some more time researching. I'm just showing you what you need to do. We also have to select research. Don't forget about it, because otherwise it will not be researched. We said do not do it immediately on the first day. We're gonna do it on the second day. So let's go over there and let's continue to speed it up. Again, nothing else for us to do. We just need to give it a couple of days and we start getting those missions. And here it is. Reinforce your troops. So you get a reward of 10 reputation, or you have a penalty of minus 10 reputation. This is why I'm completely okay with speeding up research, because we're going to get a lot of reputation, but just fulfilling these assignments. Research, Supply, and Logistic Department. Of course, we're going to get there. Create a regiment in Britain. We're going to do that as well. Let's pause it. Let's go to headquarters, and we're going to do Invent Supply and Logistics. Here it is. We're just going to click and do this one. One problem solved. Send a regiment and a warship to the colonies. Let's go over there. We said one warship. We have actually quite a few regiments over here with some generals. We're going to click on Create Fleet. This is the way to transfer your units from Britain to colonies. So here we click, it's Army. You click on a specific regiment or unit, and it says board armed transport or unarmed transport. It doesn't matter. At this point in time, you have no opposition, so you can go with unarmed or armed. It's up to you. For a month and a half, we're not gonna worry about this at all. And then we have convoy, basically. We're gonna send one ship, and we're gonna set sail over here. When you're done setting up your convoy, your army, set sail says 32 days. It will take them 32 days to get from Britain to colonies. Let's click over here. Yes, we're sure. We're gonna go back to Britain, and it says create regiment in Britain. So we're gonna do that. Exactly that. We said that regular infantry or cavalry cannot be recruited in the colonies, can only come from Britain. I would stay away from cavalry regiments, if I'm being honest, because I think they're super, super expensive. They require horses. They require just a lot of men. They're like 5 times more expensive than an average infantryman. So stay away from it. On top of that, you have to pay for horses, specific types of weapons, and they have very small numbers. So they're useful on the battlefield, don't get me wrong, but they're so expensive. And we're trying to save money. So when forming a regiment, we're going to go for Fusiliers. Your basic gun is Brown Bess 69. You cannot get anything else. You do not have like a civilian musket as the Americans do at the start of their campaign. We're going to ignore everything else over here. We're just going to go for Fusiliers because they're the cheapest ones. You could alternatively go for Skirmishers, but Skirmishers are like 1.5 in comparison to just one per Fusilier. So they're more expensive, and until you can get them some rifles, I don't think they're that much better. If you can get rifles for them a bit later, then yes, they pay for themselves for sure. Over here, I would advise going for artillery battery with like field guns, 6-pounder, or you can go for mortars. I personally prefer mortars, especially in bigger fights, because they scare both men and horses. And if you have a couple of mortar batteries spread around the battlefield, you can have like a chain reaction of enemies just running away, coming back. You shoot at them a little bit, they run back, and they cannot really do a lot of damage to you, even if you're outnumbered. But they're not going to do a lot of killing in a smaller battle, so it's up to you. Whatever you prefer. Let's create. So we are done basically with one more. All of these 3 are fulfilled. We just have to wait a day until we see the results. Arrival of the lost ships. So at the beginning of our campaign, we go notification. Excellent. +10. Department is established. The regiment has been created. And we have new tasks. Start regional upgrade. Okay. Construction of a building in a settlement. Okay, produce ammunition in England. So we cannot do any type of construction on a settlement level or regional level until I think March 14th. This is when we're gonna get the royal colony, and we're gonna talk about this in a specific part again. But as of now, we cannot do anything with the first two. We're just gonna ignore them for the time being. We have like 50 days. Don't worry. We just need to start the construction. We don't have to finish it. We have to start it in 50 days. And we have a notification about the fleet. We click over here, we click on the fleet, and I'm gonna get you guys to Boston. You can send them elsewhere, but make sure not to move them around on foot because it's winter and we said that you're gonna have heck of attrition. We're also gonna go to supply and logistics or headquarters. We're gonna select military governor because we stopped this research, and now we're gonna go to supply and logistics, select somebody who's well suited with the best numbers, and then there is only one thing we can research. Now we're done with headquarters. Everything is cool, everything is good, but we can produce 10 ammunition in England. So let's go over there and go to production management. We have to go to supplies and then ammunition. We have an option to go for unlimited production, but we only need 10, we said. Let's go there, and we're gonna do 10. Even if you do not have, as I said, even if you do not have ammunition or provisions, you can still recruit units in Britain. So do not worry, this one is not necessary. We're gonna simplify as much as possible this part, because if you have too many things, it's bad for logistics. We're gonna apply, and right now we're not producing anything over here because we already have all of our factories working on brown besses. We do not have, what it takes, but yeah, we're trying to produce them. What we can do is just bump it up on top. Now, these ones will be done in like 3 days, or maybe waiting for some raw materials to come from the colonies, but this will be done quickly. This one will never be done because it's indefinite. As long as we have raw materials, as long as we have money, it will be produced. Otherwise, we'll just sit there and do nothing. So we're just gonna bump it up. After 10 days, after a couple of days, this will stop, and we're gonna start producing brown besses. That's the goal. Okay, we have to go back to colonies, and at this point, we actually have access to market. So let's go to cannons, ships. No, we're gonna go to supply. We're transferring fur, and we see that fur is way more expensive in Britain than in the colonies, but early on, we're not gonna have enough shipping. Merchant shipping will be a big problem. So we're gonna, as we said, we're gonna try to simplify. Textiles can be sold in Britain for higher margin, or can be used to produce shipping, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna provisions, no way. We need provisions because it's winter season and we're not producing any. As we said, in Britain we can get some regiments even without provisions or ammunition, so there's literally no need for us to ship them. We're just taking up shipping. Copper is unnecessary. You can do it a bit later when you need to produce some actual artillery. You need copper, but right now we're gonna chill. Iron, as we said, is necessary for production of muskets or rifles, and we're gonna continue to ship. I'm gonna put it like 20, or maybe even 10 is okay. 10 is okay, I think. So this will automatically, everything that's above 10, as long as we have over 10 iron, this will be shipped to Britain. If we click here, we're gonna sell everything above that value, or here we're gonna auto purchase, but we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna send it to Britain. Saltpeter is used for ammunition production. We're not gonna bother at all. Coal, again, we do not need to produce ammunition. We are already sending all the necessary for 10 ammunition production, so we're not gonna bother with anything else. Wood is used for ship production, and it's also used for production of weapons, right? So I'm gonna maybe lower down this one early on. Even though we have a lot in storage, we're gonna be producing stuff, so let's put it at 20 maybe. Tobacco, again, tobacco has better price in Britain, but we're gonna stop with this. Horses are okay because for men and the horses, one ship carries 50, so this would just be like one ship. I'm not particularly worried about this. Construction material is okay. Sugar, again, we do not need to do it right now. We will make some extra money, but it will just be a huge bottleneck in our shipment. We're not going to have enough to produce muskets. We're not going to be able to get some extra men from Britain, and we just will create a lot of problems. You can change this a bit later. As I said, if you need to produce cannons, you can go and ship copper. You can change things up a bit later, but from the beginning, you should not be doing that. Just overwhelming. Then let's continue. We solved the production issue, and we said these two cannot be done right now, so we have to wait. Okay, excellent. Recruits for expeditionary forces. It's time to talk about recruits. So here, these guys are not necessarily soldiers. They're not like a regiment that you send over. These are just the men that you send over to colonies, and then if your regiment's in colonies, for example, we have some guys in Boston. If these guys take attrition, for example, we walk them a little bit during the winter, people get sick, people abandon the post, or people die, or you fight and your men are lost, then you're gonna use these guys to fill the ranks. But how does this work? If I type like 500, this means that right now there is a demand for 500 men. That would mean basically 10 ships. We need 10 merchant ships to transfer 50 men each to the colonies. It will take them 30 days to arrive there, but we're not paying for them. Like here, we're paying for this regiment, even though it sits in Bristol, we're paying for it. But for these guys, we're not. So they're just over there. And how do we know if they're in US? Well, we can know because this number will start to increase. Now it's 0, but it will be like 500. Then as they take attrition, or soldiers, then recruits will take their position, and the number of available recruits in colonies will drop, will be like 200 or 300. And then again, we're gonna try to keep balance. We're gonna send, I don't know, 5 more ships from Britain to colonies to get to 500, or whatever this number is. We're gonna try to balance it out. Whenever your troops take attrition, recruits will take their place, but the number of recruits in colonies will go down, and then new merchant ships with new recruits will be sent. But it will take 30 days, remember that. We can increase this to whatever number you like. It could be 5,000 or 50,000. The problem is it will occupy all the merchant ships, and right now we do not want that to happen. So 500 is a respectable number. A bit later we're gonna increase it as we go into fights and we take casualties. We're gonna need to increase this, but right now we're good. We do not want to overstretch ourselves, and that's it. We have additional mission, and this mission is start a mission in a specific region. How do we start a mission? We click on a region. We do not click on the settlement. We click on a region. We go over here. And there are actually 2 missions that make sense in this case. One would be to increase loyalty, because loyalty in Boston is very low. It's 42. This will make a lot of sense. So if I go to loyalty, it costs 1,000 per week, and it will cost us 1 rum. I need to select somebody, and it will increase the loyalty in 2 weeks. I cannot click start because right now we do not have any rum. That's a problem. A bit later, there will be some events. You're going to get rum, but right now you don't have it, and we cannot pull it off. The second thing that will make sense would be construction. This is a must. We can increase the construction points, and we're going to allow our buildings to be constructed faster. But again, we have no option to do anything until a royal colony arrives, so just no need to waste our money on any of this. We're just going to wait for, I don't know, 2 more weeks to do it. And let's continue. Colonial Secretary. Recruits are sent. Excellent. We're getting more reputation. Now we have ability to research this one, and we're going to do exactly that. colonial secretary is unlocked. We can click over there. Again, select somebody suitable with the best stats. We're gonna start research, and then we have to again go to military governor because he's the one that allows other parts of headquarters to exist. We have to go back to this and then speed it up again. We don't care too much about the events. Let's wait for the reinforcements to arrive. Transfer them to garrison. We're gonna get rid of the ship for the time being. We can speed up technology over here, but I don't think the colonial garrison is worth your reputation at this time. We're gonna talk about technologies in a specific part of this video, but yeah. Right now, we're just gonna chill. We need 10 more days. Okay, here we have King's Help. You have a couple of options. HMS Norseman, plus 25 reputation, or additional troops. This is basically 5 regiments, and always go for this one. It's so powerful. But we can find them in Bristol, so we have to click over there. Go to barracks. Yeah, now we had 1, and we got 5 more, so we have 6 regiments. Huge. We said, create fleet. We need to send them right now because regardless of the situation, we're paying their salary. So they should be on their way to colonies. We do not need any escort. Convoy is not necessary and we have no ships. So just set sail. Okay. Let's do that. Ammunition is produced. Excellent. Okay, excellent. Colonies must pay. It's, as I said, March 14th. We are getting Royal Colony. We have the ability to produce weapons. We have the ability to construct things. And we're gonna fix this one as well. So, let's begin. Because Royal Colony is unlocked, we're gonna go to headquarters real quick. We're gonna appoint somebody for Loyal Colony. Who would it be? I don't know, they're all bad. Over here, we actually gonna go to +2 because coal and copper will cost you 24. By just selling copper, you're gonna get like coal for free. And if you increase this, price exponentially rises, and then it's not worth it anymore at some point in time. So just go for like number 2. I think that this is completely okay. You're gonna benefit. If you just sold the copper, you're gonna get some extra money, and you're gonna get coal on top of this. But we need to select the project lumber mill. It's needed for material production. Let's do that. And that's it. We have a couple of missions to resolve, you guys remember? But before we can resolve them, let's go to production. Now it's unlocked, so we have the access to production. We're gonna go to muskets, and we're gonna focus on brown best 69s. Because let's apply unlimited production. That's it. And remember something else, guys. Even if we have, you know, enough recruits to cover for all the losses our army suffers, one of the major problems over here would be lack of muskets. We only have 34 muskets. And if we start shipping the muskets from Britain, we're not going to have enough to create new regiments. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? We have to start immediately with production. And there is something else. If we go to Great Britain, we can see that currently we are using merchant shipping. 30 merchant ships are being used. Anchor, that means ideal ships, are none. We're using all of the ships we have, and on top of that, we have demand for 5 more ships. And this demand is likely to increase, right? We have lost 0 ships because right now Americans still are not in rebellion. There are no privateering, so we did not lose any ships. We gotta later check on this number, but right now it's as it is, right? Well, there is something that we can do about it. We said that in Britain, it's not the best place to actually create ships because we need to transport all the raw materials. But if we go back to the colonies, because we're still controlling all the colonies, all the ports, our naval construction numbers are actually pretty good. Let's go over there. We have production points for the weapons, and we have shipping points for shipbuilding, right? So we're gonna go to ships. We're gonna scroll down until we find merchant ships. Transport ships are the ones that are used for transportation of our units, and I don't think we're gonna need more of them because they're automatically, as soon as they drop their troops over here, they're automatically respawning in Britain, so you don't have to worry about getting more of them unless they get sunk, but that will be a disaster in itself. You always need to escort them. If you have problems with the American Navy, make sure to send your Navy to escort the transport ships. But merchant ships we talked about, we're not going to go indefinitely because they cost wood, they cost textiles, and they cost a lot of pounds to create. Currently, we're going to go for about 20, right? Let's click apply. And that means 96% of the ship is produced per day. That means that we're gonna need like 22 days to construct all of the ships we need. That's completely okay. We can actually yeah, we can increase this one. We can double it. Let's go again to ships, and yeah, if you need to, you can go to merchant ship again, write the same number and apply, and they're gonna do this exactly the same thing. But we're not in a hurry. We're gonna spend a lot of wood and a lot of textiles, so I'm afraid that we're not gonna have enough to ship to the Britain to produce muskets. So I'm gonna stick with this. And now we have to worry about construction. We can actually finish these tasks over here. Look, the first thing you need to address would be loyalty. You click on the settlement. You can hear that current loyalty is 43%. The loyalty needed to be higher than 36% in order to prevent rebellions. This percentage depends on the difficulty. This is normal difficulty. If you go to easy difficulty, it will be, I don't know, about 30. If you go to hard, it will be like 40. Hardcore would be, I don't know, 45 or something. So it depends on the difficulty. And the first thing we need to address is, of course, loyalty. But we're going to go for printing press and a bit later for newspapers. But remember, this one will give you positive loyalty, while church would give you debuffs. Right now, we have the region of Boston. It has 2 settlements. But we can see that the locality, basically the buffs we get from Town Hall and over here, yeah, another Town Hall, are 0.3 per each. That's 0.6. And tax debuffs are 0.2 per each settlement in the region. That means basically 0.4. But in a short while, taxes will be doubled. That means that you're going to get 0.8 instead of 0.4, and it will be more and more difficult to maintain loyalty in these regions. Not to mention that whenever the loyalty is below 50, you cannot recruit any troops. Even militia or ships cannot be recruited in Boston or Salem for as long as the loyalty is below 50. So it's a big issue. And do not remember, it's not enough just to have numbers above what is tax or disloyalty or debuffs, because there will be a lot of events that will lower down the loyalty. So you have to be way above level every week in order to ensure that over a course of weeks or months you can go above, you know, the danger zone. That's the biggest deal. So we're gonna go for printing press and then church. And we're going to do the same in Salem. Let's go for a printing press, and then let's go for a church. But our production or construction numbers are very low. So what we can do, we can click on the region, go over here as we explained before, go to construction, and assign an officer that will lead the construction. Recently, they changed the way construction numbers work or construction missions work. You used to start with about 2. Now it's much lower. It's like 60% of what it was before. It used to be very OP. Now it would take more time to construct. But now they made a change in a sense that your regional construction is also being buffed by officers. So it's better for maybe mid to late game, but it's worse for early game, because now it would take quite a few more weeks or quite a few more days to construct these buildings. That means that you're going to get those buffs a bit later, or you're going to get a slower return on your investment, but you have to do it. There is no other way. We're going to primarily focus on loyalty, and then we're going to focus depending on the region. So with regions with higher construction numbers, we can go for carpenter shop, even though we have a lot of it right now. We're not going to have for very long. And then we're going to focus on schools for specialists. We're going to need a lot of specialists. We're going to need a lot of construction materials. So this will be something. And then we're going to focus on merchant stalls, because merchant stalls we're just going to give us some extra money. And then we can focus on production buildings, predominantly production buildings that include for traders, right? But let's talk about other regions. So we have one mission over here. Then we're gonna use regions with the best construction points to start early on. Over here, loyalty is super high. It's like 100%. So we do not need to worry about printing press or church this early. We're gonna focus primarily on maybe money. Why not? Or we can go for carpenter shop. It takes only 7 days. Quite amazing, right? We can issue a couple of orders to construct. Maybe, how about school? Schoolhouse. It's excellent. And merchant stall. With New Haven, we can do the same thing again. So we're going to go for... where is it? School, and then a merchant stall, right? You're going to do the same thing for all the regions. Here you can also delay your newspapers for some time, maybe get some extra construction. You need to do this across the board. Everywhere we decided to keep, you kind of have to do the construction. Specifically, in some regions, like if we take Castine, you can see that construction numbers are terrible. 0.2 over here will be 0.4 in Castine, and for Pownal is terrible. So if I try to construct something, let's go for newspaper, right? Or printing press, pardon me. This will take 76 days, right? And if I try to do the same over here, it's 177 days. If we talk about regional construction, we can get, for example, mining infrastructure. This will give us some extra production of construction materials. But not only that, we said whenever you have gold, as a resource, this will give you extra money, about 200 per week. For every single mine you build, you're gonna get 200 extra pounds per week. Well, let's see the timer. 283 days. It will take forever, almost a year. So what we're gonna need to do, again, go to construction, select an officer, and start. And let's check the numbers now. 22 days instead of 177, and 19 days. How about the regional construction? 54. So you can see that these types of missions have more sense in places that have very, very low construction numbers. They are expensive and they pile up. You can eventually see them over here with civil expenses, but you need to allow for the week to end. Starting the next week, you can see this in your civil expenses under missions, right? You can also do something with loyalty, as we said, but we currently have no rum. We're gonna get a bit later, and we're gonna use it. You have to address all of these issues. It will cost you a lot of money. This is one of the reasons why we're so being so frugal with our army and our navy, because we need all the money we can get. Even though we had like over 200,000 at the start, it doesn't matter. This money can disappear in 2 months' time. So be very, very careful. Focus on the regions like Fort Levy. We do not intend to put any troops over here. They're not going to be garrisoned for now. So they're going to need printing press. In both settlements, we're going to need printing press. And we're going to need probably a church in one of them. In the second one, we're probably going to do the same. Or you can maybe get away with merchant stall, but at least one of them has to have it. And of course, we need to give it an officer. So let's go to construction, assign somebody, and now it will be much faster. The same with Russell. All the regions that we're not going to garrison, or we're not planning to garrison in the long term, they have to be with high loyalty so we do not get any rebellion from the inside. We can focus all of our forces to deal with the Continental Army on the outside, but inside of this circle that we wanted to protect, we cannot allow to have a rebellion, right? That's it. The way you can control whatever is happening, you can go to regional missions. You have to check just pause the game, go to each individual settlement and do the construction. If you're over here, you can tell basically how many construction or how many missions you have in general. If you have loyalty missions, you're going to be able to see them. And how much you're paying for them, you can check with your finance report, right? So be very careful. As soon as you construct all the necessary buildings that cover, that cover economics or they cover loyalty, you stop. With this one, as soon as you get there, you stop. You want to have to cut your expenses because you're going to get bankrupt. And a bit later, what's going to happen is that you're going to get notification that your king is requesting money. So you have to pay about 10,000 pounds. Depending on the difficulty, you're going to have to pay more or less every few months. And if you have no money to pay, what's going to happen? You're going to take minus 25 reputation hit. It's terrible. It is terrible. And eventually you're going to lose your campaign. If you have no money, you're going to lose your campaign just based on this. We're going to speed it up because I wanted to speed up a research and just show you what is necessary to do. Useful meeting. This is when we get rum. And make sure not to sell it. Upgrade is successful. Building is started. Mission organization success. So all the missions are over here now. They're being done properly. We're going to go for colony organization. We're going to speed it up. And we're going to use our reputation to get the job done. Because this will allow us to get militia. To actually recruit militia. Okay, finally. Sell furs in Britain. Again, another mission. We're going to go to Britain and let's go to market. We're going to go to supply and we have 10 fur. So we're going to sell it. We can go auto sell or whatever you guys decide. As you can see here, the price is almost 700 if you're selling, over 1,000 if you're buying. But look at this. The more you sell, the lower the price gets. So the smartest thing would be to sell like two, or just see how long is the mission. We have 18 days, so we can maybe sell this in half and half, right? To get some more cash out of it. It's a really good practice. So we would put 5 or whatever you like, but you need to be aware that if you're buying more things, the prices will increase of that good. If you're selling more of it, the prices will go lower. Let's just sell it, and we're gonna fulfill our mission. And as we said before, let's go to headquarters. Gonna go over here again. Go after militia. If something is worth spending your reputation on, it will be this one. You're gonna get more and more militia, and then you'll be able to employ that militia or recruit it in Fort Halifax, whatever you need to prevent rebellions from occurring. It will take you a couple of times to practice to see what works, what doesn't. If I went through all of this, it would take forever. Literally, this tutorial is already way too long than it should be, so I cannot show you every single bit of video, but you're gonna practice. Make a save when you get to Royal Colony, and then slowly decide and practice to see what is working for you, what is not. But you first need to focus on loyalty. You need to focus on building construction materials and building up specialists. It's by far the most important. And then you focus on money, on how to make money. We talk about fur. When you get your loyalty buildings, you focus on fur traders, because fur traders are the ones that will they're very cheap, and they're the most productive ones, right? I almost forgot. There are buildings that are quite useless during the British campaign. One of them would be Recruiting House. Recruiting House makes a lot of sense during the American campaign, but during the British, as we said, all of your line infantry and cavalry actually come from Britain, as well as recruitment for them comes from Britain. So you only have limited militia that you can recruit, and it takes some time to get them. This will be useless, literally useless. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of slot. Then, if we go to regional construction, military infrastructure allows you to have global army limit. But for the first couple of years, you should not, and I repeat, you should not be building these because your limitations come from restrictions, not from your ability, your economy, and stuff like that. So for the first couple of years, do not bother with this one. It's a waste of resources. Well, it's time to talk about the rebellion itself. Rebellion will happen in about a month from now. Now it's March 16th. It will happen on April 17th. And after a couple of days of announcing the rebellion, there will be, I think, about 3 militia regiments spawning in Leicester. You're going to take 2 or 3 of your own regiments. Do not bring more, because they're just going to flee. Try to beat them up. Try to surround them and destroy them. Not allow them to flee, because if they flee, it will be super difficult to catch them, and you guys going to attrition and gonna be quite annoying, right? The next thing to do before the actual rebellion, maybe April 10th, you need to start building up your navy. Right now we have no navy whatsoever, or we have like a small ship coming in. Regardless of the situation, you need a proper navy. So you're gonna go to New Haven. Is the best place because it has the highest construction numbers. Places with highest construction numbers and high recruits will be very fast and will be able to prepare the ships for combat. We're gonna go there. We're gonna get major ships, like something like this one. 78 cannons, create, get an officer, get everything that's needed, and just create a ship. On top of that, you're gonna add maybe 2 more small ships to save the money in this fleet. Then you're gonna need at least 3 fleets, in my opinion, and they're gonna patrol waters around New England. So over here one, over here the second one around Boston, and the third one should be around Newport or New Haven. These are the only ports that you're gonna defend over here, and you're gonna need them for merchant shipping or whenever your guys need to land and stuff like that. The second thing is that you're gonna go to the south, and all the south and central colonies. We have something like this. We're gonna block merchant fleet from ever coming into this region. Why? Because right now, merchant ships will come anywhere. They're gonna dock anywhere, and as soon as rebellion happens, maybe about 10 days later, we're gonna have problems with privateering. Privateers will start to go and destroy. They literally will destroy your merchant shipping, and because you cannot afford to pay for a major navy, your loss is going to be excessive, right? We cannot allow this to happen, so we're going to limit our merchant navy to go only in the New England area, all right? This will help our Royal Navy that defend those merchant ships from privateering, and we're going to have way lower losses. But we're going to do that only in regions that we're not going to control. In the regions that we plan to control, there is no need to do that. And we're going to have Royal Navy patrolling the waters. One of the more important things, and you guys might like it, you might not. Some of you might think it's a cheat. I think it's kind of a cheating. You can click on the regions, all of the regions that you're not going to control, everywhere, and you can see regional infrastructure. If you click on demolish, you're going to get a bunch of construction back. I don't think you're going to get money, even though it says you're going to get your money back. I don't think you're getting it. But regardless of the thing, if you do this everywhere, you already use them, but now they're going to fall into enemy hands, and you can spare a lot of construction material. You not have to worry about it that much. During the American campaign, construction material is lacking at the start, but later you have a lot of it. During the British campaign, the requirements are quite higher because British have more buildings. They have higher tier buildings. Whenever you go tier up to second or the third, this building will require more construction material, more specialists. At least you're not going to have to worry for construction materials quite some time. So it's a good thing to know. It's May 13th of 75. It's about a month since the revolution started. And as I told you before, we are digging in. We're controlling all the regions we need to control. We have slight issues with Millbro, but we can fix it easily by sending these guys over there and maybe getting another regiment from Boston to go there. We can get Douglas inside of Leicester, and this should basically stabilize the situation or get it pretty close to it. The likelihood of a rebellion is very low. We can even get you guys over there. We can actually go to Hatfield. Anyways, we are controlling a lot of it, and if we check the Navy, we can see that we have 3 navies over here. We have one of the ships. You're gonna go and join this squadron. We have some enemy ships. They're very small, so we should have an easy time destroying them. But when do enemy ships appear? They're gonna appear the first time they take a naval settlement or a settlement with a harbor. And since they have Kingston, this is where the problem is gonna begin. We said that we are locking all of this down, so there will be no problems with merchant shipping in the south or the central colonies that we cannot really defend or deal with the privateering. This one will give us more of a chance. Then, as I said before, we are getting some reinforcements from the colonies. This is, by the way, from my live stream, and this is a save from a few months ago. We're gonna push a lot of men over here. We're gonna take these positions, and rebellion will happen elsewhere, and it will be more and more common. But right now, we're gonna be fighting militia. Until you get into notification, that will be in like the middle of June, the creation of Continental Army. This will result with them having Fusiliers. Then you're gonna need like about 3,000 men to sit here, and they're able to strike the enemy. Because whenever a rebellion occurs in a settlement, you can have like 1 or 2 regiments, but they are very small. All the companies are undermanned. They're like 20 or 30 men per company. But if you allow them to spend a couple of weeks or even months, they're gonna build up to full strength. And what will happen is that AI will transfer all of his troops, because now they have taken all of the settlements over here, to the place where you have a lot of armies. And you can find yourself facing like 15,000 men. And it doesn't matter that you're defending a fort. It doesn't matter what kind of men you have. They're gonna overrun you. So you need to make sure to check them from time to time, force a fight, you know, defeat them because you have superiority in the quality of men, in the weapons, in morale, everything. But if you allow them to get stronger and bigger, and if you just sit there and be a happy camper, they're gonna destroy you. So always check on them and see what the hell is happening, right? Let's also check the construction. We have everything that I talked about. So Hartford and New Haven have almost everything constructed, but we did not have to focus primarily on loyalty because loyalty is already very high. But for example, Boston, printing press, church, the merchant stall, tax office. You're gonna need to use tax office in all the major settlements. They have a high workforce because they're gonna give you a lot of money. For example, here 222 in so long. We are controlling, for example, Castine in a good manner. Everything is constructed. We stopped paying for construction missions. You can go over here and basically see how many construction missions we already have. It's time to talk about technological research. So we take military governor first. And of course, his job would be to research all of other departments. And now that we have them available, we're going to go into his own tree. We're going to start with Colony Organization 1, and you should rush it. As soon as you get 20 points off, like you should use your reputation to get it. Then Colony Organization 2, use the same thing, and Colony Organization 3, the same. Why? Well, because you're going to get 15 extra militia units. With 15 militia units, you will be able to spare your line infantry from having to do this type of, you know, guarding duty and take more of a aggressive stance. You can also use them in combat. Real good. This will allow you to expand actually from New England to expand down south, and will be very useful. Then I would advise to go maybe not into research speed, because I think that research speed is kind of bad. It would take quite some time, but you're not gonna get as much from it because technology is the most important at the start. This is where you struggle the most, and if you spend your you know, early 150 days, 200 days researching speed, you're not gonna get anything. It's a huge problem. Then you can go after government efficiency, reputation, cost, loyalty. This is pretty good. But probably specialists are second most important thing because as you can see, we're already lacking specialists. Then government efficiency, probably the next one. And then you can go over here, get plus 5% loyalty across the board. You can get construction points, 0.5. This is so important because construction points will allow you to, even in the places where construction is so slow, to speed it up rapidly. The same applies to forts. Indispensable. This one is also really good. After that, you can go for whatever you like. It's up to you, but these are the key points when it comes to military governor. Secret Service. We already lowered down salaries, so you don't have to worry about that. Intelligence costs should not be paid this time, even though right now we have a lot of money. This will not last, as we said. We're gonna need a lot of troops. We're gonna need everything. So paying this cost is insane. Do not bother. Maybe you can do that the next year in 76 if your financial situation is stable. But otherwise, it's just too much. Let's go into the intelligence department. And here, of course, we're gonna start with reporting. Then I would rush newspaper immediately. As soon as you get it, rush for it. Then you can go after college, and then you can go into intelligence organization 3, because this will give you intelligence costs lowered. This will give you colonial secretary research speed, of course. And then you can go for cathedral, and then maybe you can go for university. After that, it's up to you. You have multiple options. None of them are great, none of them are bad, but again, I would ignore this one. I think that research speed is kind of bad for the reasons I explained before. We have Council of War. Council of War will allow us to have training with our troops. Make sure that you have enough ammunition, and only then you can do training. Maybe now it's too early. In a year in 76, if you have enough ammunition, you can do this type of luxury. Over here, I would not go into better weapons because you already have Brown Best 69 that's better than anything Americans will have. So you don't have to worry about being, outgunned by the Americans. Militia stats are pretty good because you're going to rely on militia. Research speed is awesome because this time around it unlocks other things. Here, again, research speed, great, but it unlocks other things. I would focus primarily on this branch of technological research because you can go to 6 field guns and howitzers. You can get a bit later mortars, 12 pounders and 13-inch mortars. But I would usually go for 6-pounder, then I would go for Baker rifle, and then you're gonna go down this tree, or you can go on this side. Later, you're gonna get some Hessians, you're gonna get some German mercenaries. They usually use Prussian musket. If you want to replenish those mercenaries, you need this one, International Auxiliaries. I think it's quite interesting. And then you have personal freedom to go for whatever you like. But as I said, I would primarily focus on this side of the tree, get 6-pounders and maybe howitzers, but they're kind of the same. So probably 6-pounders and then Baker rifle for your skirmishers. And then you can switch to this one, or you can go for permanent garrisons, get some extra research speed, get 33rd Foot, and you can go for Prussian muskets to be able to resupply those mercenaries. We have supply and logistics. Let's go over there. This is one of more important tech trees. So I will go for, of course, supply and logistics. You cannot do anything else. Then we're gonna go for dry dock. This will allow us to have to service more merchant ships in the ports, but this would not be that important early on in the game. Maybe a bit later. You should go for this one, rum distillery, then fur trading post. Why? Because we said that fur is the best way to make money, and we're gonna get the 2nd tier building. Then we can actually go for research speed over here, regional warehouse. Then come back to do tobacconist shop, and then you can do cigar factory, because tobacconist shop is the 2nd tier building, fur factory is the tier 3 building. So you cannot build cigar factory if you don't have tobacconist, right? Then we can go down trade post, we're gonna go down company, and we're gonna go to monopoly to get fur factory. This will give us 5 fur, and we're gonna be making a lot of money. Right? Alternatively, you can go for rum factory a bit later, but this should be your priority. Then we have Royal Colony. Let's go over there. We're gonna go for lumber mill. This is the starting one. Then you can go for government efficiency because it's quite easy to research. Then you can go maybe for tax house. This will give you the 2nd tier building. And then you can go for maybe tax loyalty over here. This is pretty good. I would avoid the research speed because this is very isolated branch. We're not going to get much from it for a long time. As we said, one thing is to be able to research the entire thing in like 3.5 years instead of 4 years, because you have research speed. But early on, you really need new technologies, and there is no other way. Then you can go for a trade depot that will give you the 2nd tier money making building, and then you can go for trade center, will be the 3rd tier building. We have a lot of good things over here. We have government efficiency, firearms production, unit ammunition, speed, gun making speed production, shipyards. We have a lot of options, but these are the priorities. So we said the government efficiency basically will give you money across the board. Tax house, to be able to get some extra tax money, will effectively double it. Then construction speed is very important. Movement speed, trade depot. Then you should probably go into trade center and then administrative costs. You can go for colonial economy as well. So you can have a lot of good options over here. Colonial secretary. We have more leeway over here. I will go, of course, weaver shop. Then I would recommend going down this path. Ship degradation, -5%. Ship maintenance cost, again, -5%. Your your navy will grow in size, and as well as ship maintenance and ship degradation will be more expensive. Go after textile mill to be able to produce more textiles, and then you can probably go after Hermione and HMS Frigate to get some extra ships. Then again, if you need better guns on ships, better cannons, you can go after 24 pounders. It's up to you. I just went, remember, on this side because of the resource speed. This is the good type of resource speed, of course, because it's unlocking other branches of the tree. But if you just have resource speed over here, it's just useless. It's a waste of time. Because I really like the HMS Victory, I eventually went for this one. But you have a lot of leeway when it comes to Colonial Secretary, so it's up to you to decide. We're now in the early 76, and as you can see, we managed to stabilize a lot of New Jersey, like Easton, Morristown. Freehold still needs some garrisoning, but it's out of the woods. It's 47%. Philly is also getting out of woods. Monroe is stable. We also have Delaware. We have Maryland. We have control over these settlements because we invested in infrastructure. And you can see that our money dropped quite a bit. We had over 200,000. Now it's a bit less than 60,000. But we're spending a lot. I mean, a lot of missions. We're spending a lot on construction. But our income is much better. We have way more troops to support as well. We are having a healthy economy. So as soon as we make sure that these places will not rebel, we slowly ship those troops down to the front and we expand the front. And you also need to have healthy number of combat ready troops. These guys can abandon this position and go and fight the enemy if they need to, right? So it's super, super important to start construction early on, to focus on loyalty even here. And because, if you guys remember the perk that we chose at the start of character creation, we're going to have minus 20 tension with the natives. Now we can go to foreign relations and look at this one. We have very low tensions with both France and Spain because we're constantly focusing on them with our treaties. Trade rights, let's do another one with France. Shared intelligence, you can go for trade events. This will make you a lot of money, but will increase every week. You're gonna get -1 tension with France, and it's a lot of fun to do. Now diplomacy got better. It's nowhere near total war level of diplomacy, but it's pretty good for what it is. It's much better for what it was. And look at the natives, they all like us. We're not gonna have problems with them. And a bit later down the track, things gonna get worse between you and France and Spain on the other side, but you can prevent the war from occurring for as long as possible by having proper diplomacy. And your next target of expansion should be the seaside, the East Coast. Your job would be to take all the settlements on the East Coast. Well, why these? Because remember when I talked about when the enemy navy spawns? They spawn as long as they have harbor. If you deny enemy a single harbor, then you're not going to have to worry about the navy over here. And you will be able to do any kind of shipping to Britain. You want to ship fur, cigarettes, rum, all the materials, anything you need you can ship over there. And you can make a ton of more money, right? Before you ever get into war with France or Spain, you can actually end your campaign over there. It's late October of 76, and our plan worked. We're controlling all the East Coast settlements. We're denying enemy a harbor. That means that enemy navy is no more. What this means is that our navy that costs currently about 16,000, you get rid of it. We don't need it anymore. And if we look at the Foreign Relations Committee, things are looking worse now with France and Spain, but we can lower down tensions in various ways. We're still nowhere near getting into war. They actually gonna be against you if you're winning the war. If you're losing the war at the start, like they could be on your side, but if you're starting to win, they're gonna be on the American side, and you can lower it down. And as we said, with the natives, we're in a really good spot. The second thing is, as we said, if you don't have to worry about losing your merchant ships, you can sell everything in Europe. You can ship them to Britain. We can sell as many things as you like. You're gonna make so much more money, and because you don't have to pay for the navy anymore, and you're getting more money from just trading, you can pay for more troops. That's it, to finally crush the rebellion. At the end, you're gonna have a couple of events where enemy armies are popping up left and right, but you should have enough of a force to deal with them. Happening out of thin air, and I know that I didn't like it, and I think that you guys would not like it, but it's a game mechanism preventing you from snowballing, and I guess I'm okay with it. There will be some rebellions in places where they shouldn't be, like loyalty is very high, but you still get those rebellions, and you can use mercenaries over here where there are natives. You can literally hire mercenaries, but remember that they cost the reputation points. You should have more than enough reputation by this time to deal with everything. Well, this will be my final advice. Maybe if you're going over here, it would be quite nice to go after Inglis Ferry because of the gold resource. Just to remind you, I made a mistake for not taking Fort Keckley and then Inglis Ferry immediately, but yeah, that's hypothetical. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna make this video available for members first, and then will be for everybody else. If you have any questions about the game mechanics, anything regarding the campaign, please let me know in the comment section, and see you next time. Bye bye for now.